In this tutorial, we are discussing the Docker. So now in the second tutorial of the Docker series, we are going to discuss the image, what actually the Docker image is. If we go to the website of the Docker official, so we can see that this is just definition of what actually the Docker image is, and the default image and all will show all the top level images, their repository and stack size and blah blah. And but in general, if we talk about images are just a template for our application, like for the database, and it has everything for their OS and later stuff. Actually, what image is just like we suppose we have created a application and we want to push that application so everyone can use that, or we can deploy it in another environment. So we will create our image. So these are actually are the organizations who create the images for their software, just considering in that way. So in our discussion, so we are like here is the Docker hub is just like a registry of the images. In simple wording, just like a Git, when we want to download some library or packages from the Git, we will go to the Git and get that particular library you via Git command or whatever we have installed in our system, or what actually we are using. So the same like hub.docker.com is consider in that way. It is a just Git, uh, GitHub tab, where we in the Git we use mostly the library, but on the Docker we use a register for our images. So in our case, as we have started the Docker discussion, so let's create a simple, actually download a simple image for that, and let's start with the nginx. This is image for the nx. This is actually the nginx is a server that official image actually created Docker open, and that manage all the HTTP related things. So this is just about the nginx, just so we can check that how the our Docker is working. So here is the command for that, Docker pull ngx. So just copy that command and open your browser cmd and paste over here, because I already have pull that image in my system, so that's why I'm not doing it again, but I can do it again. It will uh, not allow to download again, but it will update the some files if any update is available on the Docker hub. So to check that how the image work, we can use that Docker and images. Now you can see that I have a image of the nginx. So the next thing is that how we can create a container for the image. What actually the container is? In our previous discussion, we had just started the container is this, but in actual, container is just like a instance of an image. As I said, we have installed this image, or download this image and nginx. Now we are going to create the uh, container for that this particular uh, image. So for that we can create use if we just click that Docker ps, so it will show that the container ps mean actually process states. And if we check that Docker and so it will show us all the commands, like we already had discussed the thing, like these things detach and all this stuff. But how we create a Docker container? So for this is simple one, Docker run. And what actually we want to run? We want to run our image, and for that we can use our image in our let me actually clear uh, the terminal. So we can create a container for our image. let's actually check that Docker images, and here is the image. Let's create a container for that. Doctor run nginx, and this is the tag for our image. So let's create use this one. Now our image is our container is created, and but it is not showing here. If we want to check that is that our container is created or not, we will use go to the next command, docker, and we check that ps. Now you can see that we have this container. Here is the container id and the image that container is being used, this one, and it is working on this port, and the name is just uh, a random name actually. So for that, uh, we do not check that in the same window. So to check that in the same window, uh, we have to run the command in a detach mode. So let's delete the close the cmd again. Let's come to the cmd again, and let's check the docker ps. No, it does not have any kind of container. Let's try to run the docker, and run, and then d mean detach mode. And now we are using our image was nginx dot latest. When we click this one, now if we want to check that docker ps, it will show the our container inside the same window. So the next thing is that how we can uh, we have covered this thing, the actual image, and how to check that uh, how many container are running on the system, on the in our window or in our image. So for that, we will check that docker and ps, and then a. Now we can see that a mean all actually. So if we just go to check that what actually a mean is, we can check that docker ps and hyphen hyphen help. Here is the commands. A mean all, f mean filter, n mean latest, last, and the l mean last latest, and q mean the quote, and the s mean size. So to stop the how we can stop the container, uh, we can simply run that docker stop, and we will use the container name or container id. So let's use this one. The container is closed. If we check the again control uh, container ps, let's actually stop this container because that was already on the uh, in the running mode, and the container is stopped. Now if we do check again the container ps, no container is showing. If we want to run the same container again, how we can run that? The simple one is docker uh, the start, and then container name. So it will start the container. If we do check again the container docker ps, now the running container is showing over here. So every time we to stop or to start the container, we are using this name like the id and the name, but these are like a id is auto generated and the name is also random name. So how we can rename our container uh, despite of using the default one like the random generator? So that is also very simple. Let's actually stop the container first, and let's create actually new one, docker, and run let's name is hyphen hyphen name, and I'm naming it like testing one, testing actually. And the our image is this one, nginx, nginx, and the tag is la, this one. And oh sorry, I did not again run the with the detach mode, so I need to go to the cmd command again. So I need to check that docker ps. Now we can see that this container has our name that we are used over here. So if we want to stop the container again, docker stop, despite of using this id or this id, we can use the testing id. And let me actually name the testing in a small case. Testing, it will not work because container, that this is a case sensitive, so we have to use a proper name as the we have named our container. So for that I have used the docker stop, so the container is stopped. And if we do check again, docker ps, only one command is running. And another thing is that uh, we can see that we are using this port for our this nginx. How we can use the different port for the, actually how we switch or how we use the different port for the existing port, or to reroute the port, how we can do that? That is very simple. Docker, and again run, and let me name it testing. And how we can do the d, and how we can change the port, colon hyphen p. And because we are using this port, so where we want to switch this port, let it create it 80, maybe 90, and the port is 80. Which image? Because we are using this image, let actually copy this, and this one. uh, okay, so it is saying that the container is already in use. Let's name it testing one. Now we can see that if I run this one localhost, or let actually check the what it has created, docker ps. Now we can see that our testing one port 8080 is associated with the 8090. So to check that, we can use that localhost, and the port is 8090. And we can see that welcome to nginx is up and its website is showing. And the another thing is that how we can remove all the, how actually we can get all the container name, list of container. So very simple, docker, and ps hyphen hyphen aq, maybe aq, oh no, again aq. So it will return the ids of all the containers. So these all the ids. And how we can remove all the container that is either the container is in the running state, or either that is in a stop state. So how we can do that? The very simple, actually I have write the code over here, this one, docker system. And it is showing that the command is docker ps and prum. And sometimes we use a different way, but let it create in that way. Yes, so it has deleted the container. If we do check again this one, so this container is still running. So if I check the docker ps, these two container is still running. How to remove all the container, how to actually stop all the container, uh, actually how we remove the single container. So for that, docker rm mean remove, and we can use the id like this. It is showing that the container that is in stop cannot be removed. How we can achieve, or how we can remove the running containers? The simple is docker and rm hyphen f and the name, and now you can see that the container is removed. If we check it again, the docker ps, the container is no more in the list. So the another thing is that if you want to remove all the container that is either the running or the stop, is the first thing is that this one, docker what actually that one, docker system and prun, what actually we pronounce it, that one. And the another thing is that how we can achieve that either the container is running or not. The list of all containers, suppose we have lot of container, maybe we have 10 of uh, qa containers that are running, and some are the staging container, and if we every day we are uploading a new container, changing the container, if we do not remove or we do not delete that container, it will create a problem for us. Or to how to remove all the container, uh, the simple one is a docker rm, as I said in the simple wording, if docker ps and sorry aq, so it will return the list of all container. Like in the case, uh, if we want to remove a container, so docker rm, and let actually try this again. So it will not remove because this is already in the case of running. So the simple thing is that docker rm hyphen and then the dollar and then the bracket, and we can use a docker ps aq and colon. Consider this in that way as we used a inner query for the database. Like the in query we mostly use like a select from table where id, and where id in, and then the in the bracket, inside the bracket of the in clause we use a extra command like a select id from the employee, and then that id is returning the list of id, then that id is being used in the in clause. So it is working in that way. So I just run that way the command, because it is showing that rm the aq. Unfortunately, because I'm using window 10, so sometimes this command does not work, docker rmf and docker aq. So I have to remove the same thing like uh, like for the another one, docker rm and f, and then the command of this id, this. No, so this is the about the how we can actually let's try to create a different doc again container, docker run in the d hyphen d or minus d, whatever we pronounce it, run d, and d attach mode, then the p, like actually the hyphen name, I'm naming it actually let do not run the whole command, let's try to use existing one. If I go here, okay, this one. So here docker run name, and I have used the testing, and then the detach mode p port. And the another thing is that if we want to use a two different port for the same, oh sorry, for the same port like the 8080, how we can achieve that? Then again p, and I'm using 80 86, and then with the 80 port. If I run this one, now if I run the docker ps, so you can see that the 2 port is associated with the 8080 port. The 89, let's say I'm coming over here, uh, this will not work because we have just actually it is working because I'm using, yeah, it is working because this is a 8090 port, and the same website will work on 8086, 80 and 86. Now we can see that the same website is working on different port. So this is about the uh, containerization, how we can download the image and how we can stop the container, uh, map the ports, and how we can rename the container, and like a custom contain, how we make our own name for our container, and how we can use a container port for the different, how we can actually map the port at the existing port with different ports. So this is about the container, and in our next video we will discuss the another stuff, and then slowly we will come to the our ASP.NET web application, and then we try to upload all this stuff with the container for the ASP.NET application. And thank you for watching.